if you look at, for instance, animals and certain ratios and aspects in like the Fibonacci stuff and like just like the like an ammonite, for instance, right? The fossil, there's a pattern to it, and like a lot of things in nature obey certain patterns. I don't think religion and science need to be. They can coexist.
Yeah, for example, got into geology because there's a verse of the Holy Quran. It's called the Quake, Surah Zilzal, and it talks about the time when the earth was shaken, reveal resources and treasures. So for me, that immediately says something about sustainability, geothermal energy, mining, you name it.
The XP2, the Extraordinary People podcast. Just type that in on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, comment. Great content coming out. Around the world in 80 days, around the world, docks in capes, around the world, Mars at Bane, around the world, we bathe in apes, around the world, stay at home.
Do you think that there's room for me as a scientist or as a person who studies science to be, you know, to for example see a pattern of design, at least interpret a pattern of design, or the possibility of a creator in the universe? Or do you think it's too much of a stretch or taboo?
Well, I think there's if you look at, for instance, animals and certain ratios and aspects in like the Fibonacci stuff and like just like the like an ammonite, for instance, right? The fossil, there's a pattern to it, and like a lot of things in nature obey certain patterns, and I think that there may be some sort of universal truth or at least some systemic overall pattern. So I mean, I think that even if you believe in evolution, and even if you believe in not God created the world and then we only at 4,000 years or something, I think that's perhaps is a bit too basic. But the other end, that everything happens by coincidence, I think there's still room for some deterministic or creation.
Exactly as we spoke about. Thank you for saying that, because as we spoke about off air, that's something I really struggle with in conversations, is trying to figure out how people how they so readily, because for me it sounds also like a belief, like I can't tangibly prove to anyone that there's a God. I can suggest certain things to try, and if it works for them, great, and if it doesn't work for them, that's also great. I'm also totally open to the idea. But what I wanted to say is, one of the things actually from a geological example, and I also maybe just devil's advocate, I should give the other side of this as well. I heard a really good point that someone said once, that one of the reasons that we have patterns in the universe, and specifically in physical things, is due to the way physics works. So everything is going towards the lowest energy form, which I really like. But I think there's always this argument between entropy and so entropy. If you're moving towards entropy, everything should become disordered over time, and we seem to be moving towards orderliness, depending on how you view it. So I leave that for the viewer to come to their own perspective. But yeah, the way that petroleum plays, just the whole thing about them, I find it very interesting, because you have. And I know we personify it. When I say personify it, we characterize them. So you've got your seal, you've got your source rock, you've got your the mechanism to trap the thing, or to allow it to escape. And if I understand it correctly, if these I think there's 5 elements of your petroleum play. I don't remember fully off the top of my head, and I'm not suggesting that we will start using oil. I'm just pointing it out. It's almost like a sponge that's under pressure, and because it's under pressure, you can get the valuable resource that we've used since the Industrial Revolution. Had that not been there, if it is still chance, it's a very, very lucky chance that we had this resource packaged in almost like a you know,
it's condensed energy in a way, right? I mean, it's plants which died over 100 million of years compacted together, and that gave society the option.
Also the structural element, the actual structural element of it, that every single one of those, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. You had source rock, cap rock, seal. I'm just saying that the way it's arranged, I remember the
source rock reservoir, and then a cap rock.
And then you have your fault mechanism or whatever. I'm just saying that the way it seems to be put together, for me as an observer, I definitely see an element of function in that. It could be completely random, but to me.
Yeah, I mean it's. I don't know about that. Whether that's. I mean, of course, that structure came into place by evolution of certain environments through time, and in some places the evolution was different, and therefore we don't have hydrocarbon resources.
Exactly, it would have escaped.
Areas.
It would have escaped.
I'm not sure whether it's. I mean, it's still coincidence in a way that in some places it happened in the right order, and therefore it's the order we describe. Because if you would have your cap rock below your reservoir, it wouldn't be a reservoir.
Exactly, and we have plenty of examples of possibly loads of resources that have just gone to the wind because the as you say the structure wasn't right. No, I should also just point out for the camera, from the Islamic perspective anyway, we have no problem with marrying the idea of evolution and or scientific principles in general with faith. For example, we always believe that evolution, when it happens, speciation occurs also due to environmental pressures that force quick changes over time. So obviously you have gradual things. So for example, someone, I don't know, a society eats loads and loads of glucose, over time you'll have diabetes and so on and so forth. But you will also have sudden forces that, for example, the Cretaceous meteorite, I literally learned this yesterday, if it had moved a couple of degrees left or right, the course of history as we understand it now would be different.
Yeah, it would be completely different probably. Yeah.
We may or may not have had the age of the mammals, or this would have been a different time frame.
We probably wouldn't be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I guess, well, thank you for your open-mindedness, and I also just want to make it very clear that I don't necessarily expect anyone to gravitate towards one point of view or another, but it's just that I find sometimes in the scientific community that people are very keep that faith stuff to you and don't let it intrude with our understanding of the world, and I just find that a bit, because everyone needs a reason to do something. I, for example, got into geology because there's a verse of the Holy Quran, it's called the Quake, Surah Zilzal, and it talks about the time when the earth was shaken, reveal resources and treasures. So for me, that immediately says something about sustainability, geothermal energy, mining, you name it, whatever.
I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think religion and science need to be. They can coexist.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's true.
It's just a motivation at the end of the day. Someone else has their motivation because they're really into, I don't know, what happened in the Yucatan Peninsula since they were 16. They might have read a book. Who the heck knows?
Yeah.
I hope that you have a great future. I hope that you find applicability with what you're doing. I hope that you'll consider giving me a breakdown of some of the salt that I saw in Pakistan, actually.
We may be able to do that sometime. I'm not very knowledgeable about the particular subject, but yeah.
It's for reference, it's the second biggest salt mine in the world, and Alexander the Great's horses, they licked some rocks there, and then he accidentally discovered the mine.
Oh wow!
And the horses which I always thought was a bit weird, but they re-energized somehow. I always thought that it would make them thirstier, but somehow it gave them electrolytes, I think, and made them strong again.
Yeah, I mean, if you sweat a lot, and I think horses do sweat. Like as one of the few people together with humans, they sweat. So you lose minerals by sweating. So I don't think I think that I mean it may evolve through time, and we don't know about the exact history back then quite good. But
So if your horse is licking the ground, it's not unwell. It's a perfectly natural thing to do.